Right now, there are people lost in the depths of the ocean with only less than 10 hours of oxygen left.
Titan had gone missing.
Racing to find a missing submersible carrying 5 people who disappeared during a trip to the deep-sea remains of the Titanic shipwreck.
A billionaire, a businessman and his 19-year-old son, an explorer and a company CEO. All of them went into the depths of the ocean to see the wreckage of the popular Titanic. And right now, this is one of the biggest stories in the world.
And the hopes are that it will be found before oxygen on board runs out. They have about 24 more hours.
As you watch this video, rescue teams are racing against time to save people trapped inside a submersible that's been missing for 4 days now.
As explorers, we are pessimistic and objective. As it stands right now, it would be a miracle if they are recovered alive.
It started on June 16th. MV Polar Prince, the ship carrying the submersible called Titan, left St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada and traveled about 700 kilometers off coast. 2 days later, on June 18th, they arrived for their mission to see with their own eyes the world's most famous wreckage, the Titanic, which was about 13,000 feet deep. And that's when the tragedy began. At 8 a.m., Titan, which is the size of a minivan, was submerged. Inside it were these 5 men. Some of them paid $250,000 just for this expedition, which was supposed to last for only 8 hours. To reach such depths of the ocean is almost as hard as reaching space. That's why the British billionaire Hamish Harding once also went to space. But just 1 hour and 45 minutes into the dive, things began to get out of control. Titan lost communication. But it wasn't until 4 hours and 21 minutes later that the ship's crew informed the Coast Guard they lost contact. Since then, the whole world has been following what could now become the deepest search and rescue mission ever attempted. Titan only has enough oxygen for them to last 96 hours. It's just a submersible. It wasn't designed to spend days underwater like a submarine. Even though they all have been aware of the risks, we still need to be hopeful. Imagine being one of these men, especially the 19-year-old son. Right now, as you're watching this video, they are slowly dying in a place so small, there's barely enough room to sit.
And the 5 people on board likely only have enough oxygen to survive until 6 a.m. on Thursday.
The next day, on June 20th, underwater noises were detected by a Canadian aircraft. This brought up some hope. However, they cannot be sure if they were the men banging the walls of Titan or just something else. The search area is roughly the size of Connecticut. Rescuers say that looking for them is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Let's hope for the miracle, as no one ever deserves to die this way. And as to how it happened, there are different theories. Some say that it's possible Titan lost power. Some say it could have been swept by current.
It's very possible that by that period of time it was already on the bottom, getting ready to view the Titanic, and it could have gotten itself entangled somewhere.
And perhaps the most irritating is the fact that the safety of this expedition has been downplayed from the very beginning, like when an engineer quit the company over safety concerns about the structural integrity of Titan.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death.
This clearly sounds like a red flag for safety. The size of the search area has been doubled, twice the size of Connecticut. Most people don't believe they will be found. And even if they're found, that wouldn't really mean they will be saved. Experts say that in many ways, being 13,000 feet underwater is more dangerous than being in space. And while all of this is happening, people can't help but raise questions about the Titan and Ocean Gate, the company operating the tours to see the Titanic wreckage. This has only been their 3rd expedition. A couple of years ago, the company's CEO said it was an experimental approach, and a journalist who did a story on Titan said,
"I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised."
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
man! Imagine having to control a vehicle thousands of feet underwater with a $30 game controller. But for now, let's forget about all of this. There is no time to blame anyone right now, so that the sad story of the Titanic doesn't happen to the Titan. Let's all come together and pray for a miracle.